The night is quiet now. You lie on your back, the air still, the hush of sleep settling like mist around your thoughts. Above you, the stars hang, patient, ancient, unknowable. But not entirely silent. Not anymore. Because somewhere in that endless sky, a traveler still drifts. Far beyond the moon, past the outer planets, beyond the reach of even the sun's warming breath, Voyager moves onward. It's easy to forget that it started here. On this earth. Among the clamor of cities and the whispers of trees, among the voices of people who dreamed beyond their gravity. And now, even as you close your eyes and begin to slow your breath, Voyager floats in the dark, humming softly with memories of us. Its heart is small. A golden disk. Inscribed with greetings, images, music, pieces of humanity sealed in silence, waiting for another mind to listen. A message in a bottle, cast into the cosmic sea. But before it became legend, it was simply a question. A dream forged in coffee-filled labs, sleepless minds, and chalk-covered blackboards. Could we reach beyond the earth? Could we send something further than ever before, not to return, but to continue? In 1977, the answer was yes. Voyager 1 and its twin, Voyager 2, rose like sparks from a flame. Each carried instruments, cameras, and that golden record, a gift from a small blue planet to whatever might be waiting in the dark. They were launched not into chaos, but into a cosmic dance. You see, every 176 years, a rare alignment of the outer planets occurs. Like dancers in a perfect spiral, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune line up just so, a formation allowing one craft to slingshot from one world to the next using gravity itself as momentum. That moment came in the late 1970s. And we were ready. As you listen now, imagine Voyager as a tiny metal seed, drifting on solar winds, passing by giants. Jupiter, with its swirling storms and moons like miniature planets. Saturn, wrapped in rings so delicate they seem like music etched in ice. Uranus and Neptune, cold and mysterious, their secrets whispered only briefly as Voyager passed by. Each planet gave Voyager more speed, more freedom. Gravity didn't hold it back. It flung it forward. And always, Earth watched. From radio dishes in the desert, from frozen valleys, from observatories that blinked like quiet lighthouses in the night. We listened. And Voyager whispered back. The signals are faint now. They take over 20 hours to reach us, traveling at the speed of light, across billions of kilometers. A voice barely louder than a whisper. But we still hear it. And that whisper carries stories. Images of volcanic moons, data from alien atmospheres, echoes of magnetic fields we had only guessed at. Each bit of information like a pebble dropped into the well of our knowledge, creating ripples that still reach our science, our art, our wonder. But even more than data, Voyager carries something less measurable. It carries intention. The quiet bravery of curiosity. The idea that no place is too far to send a question. That even if no one ever answers, we ask anyway. There's a strange comfort in that. A comfort you feel now, lying in the dark, as your breath becomes slower, your thoughts softer. That a piece of us, of you, is out there. Still traveling. Still going. Voyager has left the solar system now. It crossed the heliopause, that invisible threshold where the sun's influence fades and true interstellar space begins. And still it drifts, surrounded by a cold so deep it has no comparison on Earth. But within its small frame, warmth remains. A nuclear heart beating quietly, powering its instruments, keeping its memory alive. It's not immortal. One day its power will fade. The signal will stop. But long after the last whisper fades, Voyager will keep drifting. For billions of years. Through the dark between the stars. A silent artifact of a species who once looked up, and reached out. And somewhere in that golden record, etched with care and hope, your voice exists too. Because among the greetings from Earth, there are sounds, heartbeats, laughter, wind and water, the first cries of a child, a kiss. And music, from Bach to blind Willie Johnson, carrying the full spectrum of what it means to be alive. Think of that now. A spacecraft the size of a car, alone in the dark, holding music it cannot hear, pictures it cannot see, love it cannot feel, yet it carries all of it anyway. Because someone, somewhere, might. Isn't that what we all do? Carry pieces of others with us, their words, their love, their echoes, even when we feel utterly alone. Voyager is alone, yes. But not forgotten. Not truly. Because here you are, thinking of it. In the soft cradle of night. On a world it once left behind, but never truly escaped. Its journey is a line stretched across time. And you are holding the end of that thread. You, the dreamer beneath the stars. You, who now knows that even silence can carry memory. And as you begin to drift toward sleep, you wonder. If Voyager could speak not with data, but with feeling, what would it say, now that it's beyond the warmth of home? You are standing at the edge of something ancient. A ritual older than fire, but now recast in steel and silence. The countdown begins, not just numbers, but breaths drawn in unison across the earth. You hold yours too. Somewhere near the coast of Florida. A rocket stands, tall, patient, and trembling. Inside it, Voyager waits. Not like a hero, but like a message. Wrapped in metal. Swaddled in engineering. Whispering with intent. This is not a farewell full of grief. It is full of awe. Because even as your feet rest on the ground, you can feel the future turning its face toward the sky. The engines fire. The launch pad shudders. And the Earth, the whole Earth, seems to breathe out. It begins. The spacecraft pushes upward, defying gravity's ancient grip. And just for a moment, it is not yet in the sky, but not on the Earth either. It's between, suspended in a moment of pure potential. That's how departures often feel. Not like escape. Not like abandonment. But like a truth that finally becomes real. As Voyager leaves the tower of flame behind. You watch its shape become smaller, its roar fainter. Until it vanishes into the blue. And though your eyes can no longer see it, your mind continues to follow. Up past the clouds. Out of the atmosphere. Into the realm where air thins and gravity begins to loosen its grasp. This is the Kármán line, the invisible edge between Earth and space. Above it, there is no wind, no weather, no sky. Only orbit. Only outward. To get there, Voyager had to ride a Titan III rocket. A powerful machine, its job was not to guide, but to throw. To hurl the little craft fast enough to outrun Earth's embrace. More than 17 kilometers per second. The velocity needed to never fall back. You don't often think of gravity as love. But in many ways, it is. It pulls. It holds. It binds. For Voyager to leave, it had to break that bond. That's the first true moment of spaceflight. Not when the engines ignite. but when the Earth can no longer call you home. And still, for a little while, Earth is not quite gone. Voyager remains tethered, not physically, but through signal. Radio waves travel back and forth, like whispers across a canyon. It still listens. It still speaks. Even as the distance grows. In the early days of its journey, Voyager is busy. Its instruments wake one by one, like eyes opening in the dark. They calibrate, stretch, and test. Its golden record sleeps, sealed beneath a cover, waiting for a future that may never arrive. But Voyager itself is alive with purpose. It was never meant to linger. Its path is precise, calculated with breathtaking accuracy. Launched at just the right moment. To catch a rare planetary alignment that occurs only once every 176 years. This alignment would allow gravity assists. A clever trick of physics where a spacecraft swings by a planet, borrows a bit of its momentum, and slings itself forward with even greater speed. Imagine skipping stones across the solar system, each bounce carrying you further. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Each giant playing its part, giving Voyager a push. An elegant celestial relay. But first, it must leave home. You might think the vacuum of space is silent. And in sound, yes, it is. But the silence is not empty. It hums with radiation, with charged particles, with solar wind. Invisible rivers flow from the sun, bathing Voyager in light that takes minutes to arrive. And still, Earth lingers. Not just as a signal, but as memory. Because even as Voyager speeds away, it turns back. For one last look. In 1990, years after launch, at the request of Carl Sagan, Voyager 1 is commanded to turn its camera toward home. And there it is. Suspended in a shaft of scattered sunlight. A pale blue dot. Less than a pixel. But all of it, all that you've ever known, is there. Every laugh, every breath, every song and sorrow. Compressed into that fragile speck floating in the dark. You weren't there to see it live. But you feel it now, even in stillness. That strange ache. To be so small. Yet somehow part of something vast and noble. That image is not just science. It's philosophy. It's poetry etched in photons. And Voyager, the tiny machine that took it, is both observer and participant. It is not human, but it carries humanity. It cannot dream, but it contains our dreams. It does not know love, but it was made by love. Back on Earth, engineers listened to Voyager's signals with deep concentration. They read telemetry as if it were heartbeat. Tiny fluctuations in voltage and temperature tell them Voyager is alive. Out there, still speaking. And though you lie quiet now, the story continues. Because something changes when you send a thing into space. It becomes untethered. Not just from gravity, but from time. There is no up or down, no day or night. Only motion. Only distance. Only the endless unfolding of the unknown. Voyager leaves the Earth behind. But it never leaves the story of Earth. It is the thread cast outward. The question we dared to ask with no guarantee of reply. You wonder, as you listen, what it means to leave. Truly leave. A place that made you. Does the journey diminish what came before? Or does it honor it? Voyager does not forget Earth. It remembers in every circuit, in every line of code. Even now, its signals return, a quiet pulse across the void, repeating the same soft message. I'm still here. And so are you. Listening. Imagining. Following that little beacon through space. As if its path might tell you something about your own. The Earth does not mourn. It watches. With mountains and oceans, with telescopes and children looking up. It knows the journey had to happen. Because wonder cannot be contained. It must travel. It must ask. It must let go. You breathe slowly now. Sensing the hush of night deepening. The hum of your own thoughts fading into the background. Voyager is far away. But not gone. It has passed beyond Earth's magnetic field. Beyond the orbit of the outermost planets. Into the threshold of the heliopause. The very edge of our solar neighborhood. And still, it goes on. Out here, motion feels different. There are no roads. No signs. No paths drawn in dust. Only gravity, the quiet curve in space itself. Pulling, guiding, inviting. And Voyager accepts the invitation. You close your eyes. In the stillness of your room, you drift. Not with your body, but with your mind. Following the spacecraft through the wide corridors of the solar system. It doesn't travel in straight lines. It waltzes. Not rushed, but purposeful. Each step planned decades in advance. Each encounter a deliberate spiral around a massive planet. It is not just science. It is choreography. Gravity is not an obstacle, it's a partner. An invisible hand reaching out. Spinning Voyager forward. The dance begins with Jupiter. The first giant. A world so large, it could hold more than 1,300 Earths inside it. Its storms are older than memory. Its magnetosphere hums with radiation strong enough to silence most electronics, but Voyager endures. As it nears, time stretches. Voyager accelerates, pulled into Jupiter's embrace. It is not captured, it glides along the edge, like a skater curving around a vortex. Cameras blink open. Instruments awaken. Jupiter's clouds swirl in creams and rust. The great red spot turns like a slow hurricane. A storm large enough to swallow your planet whole. You watch, mesmerized. As moons come into view. Io, volcanic and wild. Europa, smooth and silent, its icy crust hiding an ocean beneath. Ganymede, the largest moon in the solar system, bigger than Mercury. And Callisto, cratered and distant, like a memory of ancient impacts. Each one has its own story. And Voyager listens. It captures not just images, but energy, magnetism, heat, plasma. Jupiter becomes not just a picture, but a living world. Felt, not just seen. Then comes the spin. Voyager loops behind the planet. And Jupiter's gravity reaches in. Not to hold, but to fling. The assist is delicate. Like stepping on the back of a moving train. To leap onto the next. Voyager gains speed. A gift from Jupiter. A handoff. The dance continues. Saturn waits next. A distant, pale glow slowly sharpening into something unmistakable. A planet of rings. Thin as whispers, wide as oceans. As you drift toward sleep, imagine what Voyager sees. The rings are not solid. They're made of countless icy particles. ranging from grains of sand to chunks the size of houses. They shimmer like frozen music, catching the light in halos. Voyager passes through their plane, and for a brief moment, you are inside a celestial library. Each ring, a story. Each gap, a mystery. Beyond the rings, Titan looms. A moon with an atmosphere thicker than Earth's. It hides its surface beneath clouds of orange haze. And Voyager, though unable to land, peers in as far as it can. Titan breathes methane. Its rivers and lakes are not water, but liquid ethane. A different kind of world. Alien, but full of chemistry. Full of questions. You wonder. Is it lonely, to orbit such a world and not touch it? Or is presence enough? Saturn, like Jupiter, lends its motion. Voyager swings around. And again, gravity becomes momentum. A gentle pull becomes a powerful push. Uranus is next. A planet tilted on its side. As if knocked over by something long ago. Its axis lies almost flat, causing its seasons to last decades. Here, the sunlight is dim. Everything is quieter. The rings are darker, more hidden. Its moons, Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, are scarred with cliffs and grooves. As if they were stitched together from forgotten stone. Voyager doesn't linger. It moves on. Each encounter brief, but eternal. Neptune. The final planet. Deep blue and windswept. Its storms spin faster than any in the solar system. It is the most distant of the giants. The last planet Voyager would ever visit. And yet, even here, it finds wonder. Triton, Neptune's moon, rotates in reverse. A captured body, likely from elsewhere. Its surface is pink and ridged. And geysers spout nitrogen into the thin air. You imagine it. The cold. The silence. And yet, motion. Even here. Voyager captures it all. Then turns its gaze outward. Behind it, the solar system begins to shrink. The sun becomes just a bright star among many. The planets align no longer. Their gravitational reach fades. The waltz is over. The stage, behind. Voyager has danced with giants. And now, it drifts alone. But it is not aimless. Each gravitational slingshot was carefully chosen. Each angle, each orbit, each pass, designed to give Voyager the speed and direction. To carry it not just far, but beyond. Beyond the heliosphere. Beyond the boundary where the sun's wind ends. And interstellar space begins. You feel that, now. In your chest. A kind of widening. A quiet awe. Because what Voyager did, what we did, was not just technical. It was poetic. We taught a machine to waltz through a system of giants. To listen to their secrets. To let them shape its path. And then, to leave them. Not because they weren't enough. But because the journey called for more. You breathe in. Slow. Full. The planets turn behind you now. They are no longer destinations. But memories. The waltz is complete. And Voyager continues. Towards something greater. Something vast. Unnamed. And as your thoughts begin to drift like the spacecraft itself, you ask the question that lingers at the edge of all exploration. There is a kind of silence that exists only in space. It isn't empty, it listens. And in this vast hush, Voyager moves, not as a stranger, but as a quiet reader of ancient texts written in wind and stone. You drift alongside it now, gliding deeper into memory, to the part of the journey where wonder swelled like a tide, where Voyager met the giants. The first is Jupiter. It doesn't welcome you with softness. It booms in color and chaos. A spinning globe of gases, thousands of times the size of your Earth. Swirling with storms older than cities, older than stories. You see the great red spot. A storm the size of 2 Earths. Churning for at least 400 years. It turns slowly, relentlessly. Like a thought you can't forget. Voyager passes close. Not touching, not altering. Just watching. And in watching, it learns. Jupiter is not just a planet. It's an orchestra. Its magnetic field sings in deep, resonant tones. A hum of radiation and charged particles sweeping far into space. Its moons, each one a distinct note. Orbit in synchronized rhythm. And Io erupts like a drumbeat. It's the most volcanic body in the solar system. From Voyager's lens, plumes rise above the surface. Yellow, red, black. Color shaped by sulfur, heat sculpted by gravity. Its crust reshapes itself again and again. Like a restless dream. Europa floats nearby. Smoother, quieter. Its icy surface is etched with lines. Like ancient script carved by unseen hands. Below that crust, a secret ocean waits. A vast, saltwater sea warmed by tidal friction. A place that may, even now, cradle something alive. Then comes Ganymede. Larger than Mercury. Its surface patched with light and dark terrain. Evidence of a past as complex as any world. And Callisto, cratered and distant. Like a memory frozen in orbit. Voyager listens to them all. And then, gracefully, it moves on. You follow it. Not in body, but in breath. The next stop is Saturn. Colder, quieter, more refined. It rotates so fast that its shape flattens at the poles. A subtle widening at the equator. As if speed has sculpted its skin. But what pulls you in is the elegance of its rings. From Earth, they appear as simple bands. From Voyager's view, they become infinite. Countless icy particles. Dancing in concentric grace. Each one reflecting sunlight in flickers and gleams. The rings are thin. Astonishingly so. Though they stretch hundreds of thousands of kilometers wide. They're only about 10 meters thick in places. Like a blade of ice slicing through space. Some gaps between the rings are sculpted by hidden moons. Their orbits sweeping paths clear. Others, we still don't fully understand. And then there's the hexagon. At Saturn's North Pole. Voyager finds something strange. A jet stream shaped like a perfect six-sided figure. Spinning endlessly. Sharp-edged and steady. A storm, yes, but with structure. Not chaos, but pattern. Nature drawing geometry in cloud. You wonder how such symmetry forms. On a world with no solid surface. And the answer is as quiet as the wind. Fluid dynamics, angular momentum, resonance. But also, perhaps, mystery. Because science, too, leaves room for all. Among the moons of Saturn, Voyager greets Titan. A world with its own weather. Its own clouds and rain. Not of water, but of methane. The atmosphere is thick, orange-hued, hiding the surface beneath layers of haze. It feels ancient, untouched. A prelude to life. Or an echo of what once was. You linger in these questions. They do not press for answers. They settle around you like soft fog. Not every truth must be chased. Voyager continues on. It moves like a monk through a sacred temple. Recording, bowing, never disturbing. Behind it, the storms still rage. The rings still turn. The moons still whisper their frozen songs. And yet, something changes. Because before Voyager, these were only dots in the sky. Through telescopes, through speculation. But now, they have become places. Worlds. Just stars. Endless stars. And the gentle knowledge that someone, somewhere, made something to endure. The golden record is still aboard. That shining disk etched with laughter, music, heartbeat, thunder, greetings in 55 languages. It floats now like a message in a bottle. Not looking to be found, but hoping someone will care enough to listen. You imagine some far-off intelligence, perhaps in another galaxy. One day finding this ancient relic. And hearing our music. Our baby's cry. Our whale song. And wondering, who were these creatures? So fragile, so short-lived. And yet so determined to speak across forever. The stars around you do not twinkle. There is no air here to bend their light. They simply shine, steady, old, patient. Some are so far away, their light left them before humans learned to write. And yet they watch you, as if they were waiting. Are you awake now? Or dreaming? Does it matter? You feel your breath slow, your thoughts stretch. You and Voyager. Two travelers who cannot return, now part of the same cosmic hush. You begin to forget your name. Not from fear, but from peace. The self that worried, planned, rushed, and explained has no role here. Only wonder remains. Only rest. There is one last signal. One last photon. It leaves Voyager's antenna like a whisper leaving lips. It travels for hours. Then days. Then years. Maybe it will be caught by a telescope. Maybe it won't. But it doesn't matter, the message has already been sent. It always was. We were here. We tried to understand. We reached. You feel yourself becoming smaller. Not in the way that frightens you, but in the way that makes you feel part of something vast, eternal, and kind. You are not falling asleep. You are being held. By the stars. By the dark. By every echo of every question humanity ever asked. Where are we? Are we alone? What is out there? You smile, though you didn't mean to. The corners of your mind soften. And you hear it. Not in words, but in silence. You were never really alone. Your breath aligns now with the pulse of Voyager. Not in tempo, but in intention. Both of you still moving. Still listening. Still dreaming. Even if the systems shut down. Even if the light fades. Even if the signal dies. The story doesn't. Because the story is you. And so, you drift. Eyes closed. Heart open. sleeping not away from the world, but deeper into it. The stars are no longer far. They are beside you. Inside you. Always were. Good night, Voyager. Good night, traveler. Good night, sky. What kind of species makes something like this? One that dreams with its hands. One that wants to be known. You close your eyes and listen. The music stretches across the stars. Bach, rising slowly like dawn through cathedral arches. A gamelan ensemble from Java, rippling like wind across rice fields. A Navajo night chant. A Japanese shakuhachi flute. Senegalese percussion. Each note, a fingerprint. Each rhythm, a map of somewhere someone once called home. You wonder what a being from another world would think. Would they understand rhythm? Would they feel the ache in a minor chord? Would they know what it means to hear joy in a trumpet or longing in a violin? You don't know. But maybe it doesn't matter. Because the record isn't just information. It's memory. And memory doesn't always ask to be understood. Sometimes, it only wants to be felt. There's an image encoded on the record, not one, but many. A library of glimpses. A boy eating an ice cream cone. A woman in a supermarket. A diver surrounded by coral. A child in school, drawing with crayons. An open highway. A string of DNA. Mountains. Leaves. A human hand. The images are simple, unremarkable to us. But stitched together, they form something rare. A self-portrait of Earth, painted with pixels and hope. The record even includes mathematical instructions on how to play it, in case the one who finds it doesn't know sound, or light, or records. In case they don't know circles, or waves, or humans. It's a bit like trying to explain how to feel a sunset using only geometry. But it's the trying that matters. Carl Sagan, who helped lead the Golden Record project, once said it best: the spacecraft will be encountered and the record played only if there are advanced spacefaring civilizations in interstellar space. But the launching of this bottle into the cosmic ocean says something very hopeful about life on this planet. You let those words echo in you. A bottle in the cosmic ocean. What does it mean to hope that someone is out there? What does it mean to send a piece of yourself to a place you'll never go, to someone you'll never meet? It means you believe connection is sacred. Even if it never arrives. You begin to see the golden record for what it really is. Not a message to someone, but a message from us. Not just about what we are, but who we hope to be. A civilization still figuring itself out. Still fighting, still loving, still afraid. But also curious. And generous. And brave enough to send music into silence. The record includes greetings from a woman named Andruyen. A human heartbeat, hers, encoded in the audio. She and Carl Sagan fell in love during the making of the record. Her heartbeat, recorded just days after their engagement, pulses through space now, possibly forever. That, too, is part of the message. Love. You know now that Jupiter's storms rise higher than Mount Everest. That Io bleeds fire. That Saturn's rings are not solid bands, but flocks of frozen pebbles, suspended in gravity's web. You know that moons are not just followers. They are landscapes. Some fierce. Some serene. All of them waiting to be seen. And Voyager, in its silent devotion, showed us that seeing, truly seeing, can change the shape of our knowing. It made beauty scientific. and science beautiful. You exhale. Let the thoughts stretch. Let them settle. The solar system is not a simple collection of spheres. It is a garden, a symphony, a storm. And Voyager is its archivist. Not through ownership, but through awe. As you lie quietly now, letting sleep draw nearer, you begin to wonder what Voyager felt as it left these giants behind. Perhaps it looked back one last time, not with regret, but with reverence. Because even as it drifted toward the edge of the sun's domain, its memory remained filled with clouds and rings, moons and storms, chaos and grace. And now, beyond Saturn, beyond even Neptune, Voyager approaches the edge, not of the journey, but of the sun's touch. You drift now through silence. The kind of silence that feels like a question waiting patiently to be asked. Behind you, Jupiter's storms still swirl in your memory like oil in water. Ahead, the dark continues, soft, steady, infinite. But Voyager carries something else too. Not just instruments, sensors, or antennae. It carries a whisper. A golden disk, tucked gently into its side, like a letter sealed and sent without an address. A message from Earth. A voice, reaching through the void, hoping someone, somewhere, might someday listen. You imagine holding it. Smooth, round, metallic. Etched into its surface are symbols you don't understand at first. But they're meant to be universal: math, physics, logic. A code to break the silence. And when it spins, if it ever spins, it sings. A young girl saying hello in 55 languages. A mother's heartbeat. Chuck Berry playing Johnny Be Good while waves crash and thunder rolls. Crickets chirp. A kiss lands. A baby cries. The record doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It offers. As if to say, here is what we loved. Not just romantic love, but the kind that threads itself through our stories. The love we carry in lullabies. The love baked into bread, whispered into lullabies, painted on cave walls. It's not perfect. It's not polished. But it's real. And that's what Voyager offers. Realness. Tenderness. Truth without guarantees. You drift farther now, but something stays with you. The idea that Voyager isn't just exploring space. It's teaching us how to be remembered. Not through monuments or power, but through music. Through greetings. Through the sound of a kiss pressed to skin. There's something deeply human about sending that into the dark. As if to say, we were here. And we tried. Now you listen again. Not with your ears, but with your imagination. The record spinning, playing somewhere no one hears. But still, playing. Because memory doesn't always need an audience. Sometimes, it just needs space. A place to rest. And Voyager gives it that. You watch the craft continue on, like a candle drifting in a black ocean. Behind it, the planets fade. Ahead, only more night. But inside it, light lingers. The kind of light born not from stars, but from the act of remembering. You wonder now, softly. What would you place on a record? What sound would you carry for 1 billion years? What memory would you trust to sail forever? These questions unfold slowly within you. As Voyager begins its long passage toward the boundary. a threshold where solar winds weaken. And something even more mysterious awaits. You have drifted so far now, so quietly, that the sun, once your brilliant compass, has softened into a pale lantern behind you. Its warmth, once full and familiar, is thinning, stretching, becoming more memory than presence. You are aboard Voyager still. And the solar system, the only home you've ever known, is slowly letting go of your hand. Ahead lies a silence unlike any before. Behind, the whispers of planets fade, and the golden hum of sunlight grows dim. You are crossing a threshold now. Not of rock or wall, but of influence. You are nearing the edge of the heliosphere. The heliosphere is the sun's breath, its gentle push against the dark. It is not made of light, but of solar wind. A river of charged particles the sun exhales in all directions, stretching far past the last known planets. Like a mother's lullaby stretching out through a cradle, the sun's wind creates a vast, invisible bubble, where its presence still gently holds sway. For billions of miles, this bubble has kept you safe, protected from the harshest cosmic rays and galactic winds. It is the last embrace of home. But Voyager is not stopping. It is still drifting outward, still listening, still carrying the story of Earth. And now, it reaches the boundary, a place scientists call the heliopause. This is the outer wall of the heliosphere. Here, the sun's breath slows, weakened by the resistance of the interstellar wind that blows from the galaxy itself. Imagine two ocean currents meeting at sea. One flows from a river mouth, warm and known. The other from a distant continent, colder, heavier, strange. Where they touch, there is turbulence. A boundary, constantly shifting, constantly negotiated by force. Voyager passed through this invisible frontier in 2012. Though it carries no eyes, it sensed the change. The solar particles fell silent. The hum of cosmic radiation from beyond grew stronger, like the sound of waves falling away to reveal a deeper silence. Voyager felt the presence of the galaxy itself pressing in. Here, in this place of transition, light changes character. It no longer comes mainly from the sun. It comes from stars, cold and far. It comes from galaxies, vast and old. It comes from cosmic rays, particles born in ancient supernovae, racing through space like forgotten thoughts. This is where light fades. Not because it vanishes, but because it loses its warmth, its nearness. You are no longer inside a room lit by a single candle. You are in a hall of distant lamps, each flickering from a far-off city, none of them strong enough to cast a shadow. And yet, you are not afraid. Voyager does not shiver in this cold. It listens. It senses the music of interstellar space, the drumming of particles, the echo of magnetic fields, the slow dance of atoms across eternity. This silence is not empty. It is filled with waiting. Out here, time changes, too. On Earth, time is tied to the turning of the planet, the rhythm of day and night, the swing of seasons. But here, beyond the heliopause, there are no days, no sunsets, only the slow aging of the spacecraft, and the quiet unfolding of the galaxy. Voyager carries a tiny clock inside, a heartbeat of ones and zeros. measuring time not by the stars, but by its own resilience. And you, listening, feel something unexpected. Not fear, not loneliness, but awe. Because you are now outside the sun's reach. And still, you continue. Still intact. Still known. Still carrying the golden echoes of Earth's laughter. The pulse of its music. The dreams of its children. Even the concept of distance becomes strange here. Out past the planets, out past the heliopause. A mile is nothing. 1,000 miles is a breath. Distance becomes a language for scale. But not for experience. For what does it feel like? To be 14 billion miles from where you began? It feels like stillness. It feels like being inside a snow globe of stars. Drifting slowly. Each flake a sun you cannot touch. It feels like patience. Out here, there is no friction. Nothing pulls you back. No wind pushes you forward. You simply glide. A motion begun long ago. Now sustained by the quiet generosity of space itself. You might ask. What lies beyond the heliopause? What is the interstellar medium? It is the matter that floats between the stars. Thin as smoke. But not empty. It holds atoms, ions, dust, and whispers. It carries the ghosts of exploded stars. The ingredients of future worlds. It is the cradle from which new suns are born. And Voyager, your silent traveler, is among the first to touch it directly. To listen. To measure. To feel its density and texture. Like a fingertip brushing silk in the dark. Scientists on Earth waited decades for this moment. They watched as data changed. As cosmic rays surged. As solar wind vanished. And then, in a subtle shift of rhythm, they knew. Voyager had entered the true deep. Not just far, but outside. It had become interstellar. And you, still drifting with it in thought, still riding the hum of its story, you realize something tender. That you can leave home without losing it. That the sun, though distant, still shines behind you. That Earth, though small, still sings inside your chest. Voyager proves that memory travels. That love and curiosity outlast proximity. That even when the light fades, something bright remains. And so, out here, you listen too. To the crackle of charged particles. To the soft sigh of space dust. To the eternal hush of a universe so wide, you can only surrender to it. There is no map beyond this point. Only direction. Only the quiet arrow of momentum. Carrying Voyager onward. Carrying you. Still wondering. Still awake. And somewhere beyond this place, beyond the reach of light, lies something Voyager has not yet seen. A new kind of night. You float now where light no longer leads, but where something quieter does. Not light. Not heat. Something subtler. Something you cannot see, but which hums softly in the dark, like a breath between stars. This is the realm of magnetic silence. No voices echo here. No sunlight warms your back. But Voyager still hears. Voyager still feels. Imagine holding a compass in your hand. Watching its needle twitch, pulled gently toward the north. Now stretch that feeling across the solar system. What you're sensing is not gravity. It is magnetism. An invisible architecture that frames the emptiness of space. The sun, long behind you, once ruled this field. Its magnetic personality spilled out in every direction. Spiraling, spinning, flowing through solar wind. The heliosphere you passed was not just a bubble of particles and heat, but a living breath of magnetic rhythm. And now, you've left that behind. Voyager's instruments, delicate ears in a vacuum, remain tuned to this music. It cannot see magnetic fields, but it feels them. Through small coils and sensors. It listens to the way charged particles move. It deciphers the whispers of plasma. Like a blind musician learning the shape of a room by the way the notes echo. Magnetic fields do not float alone. They are braided with particles, ions and electrons. Dancing through space. Wherever charged particles go, magnetic fields follow. And wherever magnetic fields bend, particles respond, curving, spiraling, singing. Out here, Voyager moves through something vast and nearly still. No more strong winds from the sun. Just the cool breath of the interstellar medium. But even stillness can hum. Sometimes, the spacecraft hears a crescendo. Not of sound, but of plasma density. Shockwaves sent by distant solar storms arrive years after they were born. They compress space. They rattle the quiet. And Voyager hears, not with ears, but with the rise and pitch of interstellar particles brushing past. It is one of the great paradoxes of this journey. How Voyager, alone and silent, becomes a symphony of listening. The spacecraft's plasma wave subsystem records no melodies in the usual sense. Yet when translated into sound, its data becomes eerie and haunting. Rising tones, sudden wails. Like a violin in a void. These sounds are not for beauty. They are data. But they carry on nonetheless. They tell us about pressure and presence. About the density of nothing. You might ask. What shapes these fields? Where do they begin? And how do they connect one star to the next? No one fully knows. But some believe magnetic fields stretch across galaxies. A giant, tangled web of invisible lines. Weaving stars and gas together like the stitching on a cosmic quilt. And in that grand weaving, Voyager is a tiny thread. Its sensors measure the direction and strength of what it passes through. From these measurements, scientists on Earth build models. Invisible sculptures of magnetism. That cradle and carve the spaces between stars. When Voyager crossed the heliopause, the outer boundary where the sun's influence ends, it also crossed into a new magnetic regime. The compass needle twitched. The field shifted. And suddenly, it was not the sun's voice speaking anymore, but the voice of the galaxy. That shift was subtle, just a few degrees. But it meant everything. It meant Voyager had left the magnetic womb of its origin and entered the electric hush of interstellar night. Here, things are less certain. The particles are colder, slower. The fields are broader, more tangled. There are no planets here. No moons. Just soft, undulating lines of energy that have been drifting for billions of years. It's strange to think of space so empty as having structure. But it does. Just as wind shapes sand. Magnetic fields shape plasma. They guide it, restrict it, accelerate it. They make a map in the dark. A secret choreography for invisible dancers. And Voyager, even in its silence, follows the rhythm. There's something comforting in that. That even out here, beyond all the planets and their stories, there are still patterns. Still directions. Still a sense of this way. Even when there are no roads. The spacecraft drifts. But it is not lost. It listens, records, and carries the shape of the universe in its memory. You might wonder what these fields feel like. If you could reach out, would your skin tingle? Would your bones hum? Perhaps not. But the particles inside you, the electrons moving through your neurons, they would notice. They'd sense the turn, the pull. The silent tension of lines drawn across stars. And maybe that's what Voyager does best. Not just travel, but remind us that movement is always more than motion. It is alignment. It is resonance. It is dancing with the forces we cannot see. Out here, silence is not absence. It is potential. It is the space before the note. The pause before a thought. And as you drift deeper into this magnetic stillness, a new question begins to form on the edge of your mind. If invisible fields can shape space itself, what shapes them? And what might happen when Voyager passes through the edge of something we've never even imagined? There is no weather here. No wind, no breeze, no hush of falling leaves. Yet, something touches Voyager. Softly. Constantly. Like ancient dust brushing past the window of a ship lost at sea. You drift further with it now, into a quiet that isn't truly empty. Beyond the heliosphere, beyond the sun's breath, Voyager moves into the interstellar medium. A region not ruled by a single star, but shaped by everything that has ever exploded. The silence here hums with invisible visitors. Cosmic rays. They are not light, though they travel fast. They are not wind, though they carry force. They are fragments, atoms stripped of their electrons. Launched at near light speed from distant galaxies. Supernovae, and sometimes even black holes. Imagine them as messages from stars that have died. Not written in ink or song, but etched in energy and speed. Some of these particles were born before Earth had oceans. Before Earth had breath. They've been moving ever since, patient, relentless. Through the vastness between suns. And now, at the edge of our solar story, they touch Voyager. Its instruments feel their presence. Not as a tap on the shoulder, but as a gentle spike in voltage. A whisper in the language of charged particles. The deeper Voyager goes, the more of them it finds. Like a traveler stepping from behind a waterfall and realizing the sound wasn't the world, it was only a curtain. Back near the sun, cosmic rays are pushed away. Deflected by the solar wind. The outward breath of our star. But here, beyond the heliopause, the sun's voice no longer holds sway. And in that space, cosmic rays move like ghosts through open doors. They come from all directions. No single path. No source you can point to with a finger. And that's what makes them so mysterious. They're everywhere. But they carry with them the fingerprint of somewhere else. Voyager listens. It doesn't see with eyes or hear with ears. But in every moment, it records the patterns of what touches it. Protons, nuclei, particles wrapped in the silence of light years. And it sends these data back to Earth, where human minds unfold them, like astronomers unfolding a letter written in flame. What can such particles say? They speak of explosions, of moments so intense they shook the fabric of space. They tell us which elements were made in what stars, and when they may have died. They sketch the boundaries of our local bubble, the region of the galaxy our solar system floats within. But more than facts, they suggest a feeling. That space is not empty. It is full of time, of memory, of particles still moving from events long gone. Imagine standing at the shore of a dark ocean, and a wave touches your feet. But that wave began from a stone dropped in the sea a billion years ago. That is what Voyager feels. And in that feeling, there's something else. A subtle change. Cosmic rays don't just drift. They interact, with magnetic fields, with gas clouds, with each other. Sometimes, they change direction, bent by invisible forces. Sometimes, they slow, as if pausing to remember where they came from. The patterns Voyager records show tiny fluctuations, ripples, dips, bursts. They hint that even in this deep silence, something is moving, living, in its own strange way. Here, Voyager is not just an explorer. It is a listener, a witness. You might picture it as a monk, drifting through a cosmic monastery, head bowed not in silence, but in deep attention. And what it hears is older than human speech, older than Earth's volcanoes. It is the voice of creation, still echoing through the corridors of space. Sometimes the rays carry heavy nuclei, fragments of atoms like iron and nickel, born in the core of a massive star that went supernova. And in detecting them, Voyager is touching what was once the heart of something that outshone galaxies. There is poetry in that. A machine built by humans, powered by radioactive decay, floating far beyond any light we gave it, yet catching the breath of stars that never knew we existed. And in those breaths, the story of matter is told. How elements fuse, how they scatter, how they become the dust that makes planets, the carbon that forms life, the iron that runs in your blood. You are, in a strange way, made of the same tales Voyager is reading. The atoms in your bones once danced in the furnaces of distant stars, and now they're cousins, racing particles flung across time. Pass by this tiny probe, like old songs remembered in a dream. Some of them hit Voyager directly. A ping, a note, a change in data. And some pass right through, untouched, moving on. It's not just what these rays are, it's what they represent. Time, distance, connection. The idea that everything is always speaking, even if we can't always hear it. There's something humbling about that. The universe doesn't need our ears to speak. It's been talking long before we listened. But through Voyager, we are listening now. And through those cosmic rays, we are reminded that nothing is truly separate. Not even across light years. Even in the quiet, there are messengers. Even in the dark, there is memory. And so you float beside Voyager, bathed in the ghost light of ancient stars. You are wrapped not in silence, but in stories you can barely understand, and yet feel deeply, as if every particle that touches you is asking the same question. Where do you come from? And where are you going? And maybe that question leads Voyager, and you, into the next part of this journey, where the silence deepens, and the stars begin to speak not with particles, but with light. Out here, there are no road signs, no compass resting in your palm, no wind to push your sails, no sound to echo back. And yet, you move forward. Voyager does not drift aimlessly. It sails with purpose, across the black sea of interstellar space, where the stars are cold pinpricks in an infinite curtain, and the silence is so deep, it feels alive. You imagine yourself floating beside it. A speck. A thought. A witness to a navigation without maps. How does it know where it is? How do you know where you are, when there is no horizon? The answer comes in fragments, like a whispered memory. You listen closely, and the story of how Voyager finds its way begins. Milky Way celestial navigation in the dark. Long before Voyager reached the edge of the heliosphere, its journey was choreographed by light. By the stars, ancient and still. On Earth, we once used the stars to cross oceans. And in space, we still do. The Deep Space Network listens to Voyager's signals and measures how long they take to return. This delay, sometimes hours long, becomes a ruler in the dark. And the angle of that signal, the way it bends, the way it dances through gravity, tells us where the spacecraft is. Like hearing an echo, and knowing how far the canyon wall must be. Now imagine doing that across billions of kilometers. Through static. Through silence. Through solar winds that have long since died down. That's how we track Voyager. Not with eyes, but with ears trained on the void. Satellite antenna, the Deep Space Network, Earth's whisper. There are great dishes on Earth, in California, Madrid, Canberra. They turn like slow flowers toward the sky, opening not to sunlight, but to the smallest murmur from beyond. These are the guardians of Voyager's voice. Each time the spacecraft sends a signal, a message rides on a weak radio wave, less powerful than a refrigerator light. And yet, across space, it reaches us, because we're listening. The Deep Space Network does more than just receive. It speaks. It updates Voyager's course, sends instructions, sends hope. And in turn, Voyager replies. Not in language, but in data. In pulses of light and time. A call and response. A rhythm that spans the stars. When stars become landmarks, even when far from home, the stars remain. Voyager, like a sailor without sails, relies on their fixed positions. Their light doesn't move. It simply is. The spacecraft's instruments can lock onto quasars, distant galaxies with stable energy signatures. These act like lighthouses in space. They do not flicker. They do not lie. They simply burn. Steady and quiet. Over billions of years. With these beacons, Voyager can orient itself. Not to know where it is going, but to know how it is turning. where it is facing. A kind of cosmic body language. A silent alignment with the universe. And isn't that how you navigate your own darkness? Not always knowing where the path ends, but choosing where to face, where to lean, what to trust. Wrench course correction in the void. You might imagine Voyager drifting endlessly. But even drifting requires correction. Tiny thrusters nudge it gently. Just enough to keep its antenna pointed home. A whisper of motion. A breath. Without these gentle sighs of gas, it would turn away. And then, it would be truly lost. Not because it is gone, but because we could no longer hear it. In your own life, too, you make these tiny course corrections. A word withheld. A breath taken. A direction shifted not by force, but by grace. Voyager reminds you, even the smallest act of realignment matters. Especially when the silence is vast. Compass the compass of stillness. What is a compass when there is no magnetic field? What is direction when all around is darkness? Sometimes, the only guide is silence. What you do not hear. What no longer pulls at you. What has faded away. Voyager has passed beyond the reach of the solar wind. There is no more push. Only memory. Only the momentum of what once was. And yet, it goes on. You begin to see. Movement does not always require force. Sometimes it only requires resolve. To keep going. Not because you know the way, but because stopping is no longer an option. Ringed planet lost. But not adrift. There's a difference between being lost and being directionless. Voyager may never return. But it was never meant to. Its path is not random. Its mission is not done. It was built to outlast even its own creators. To send back information long after it has crossed into the unknown. To be a messenger of curiosity. A flame in the windless dark. You feel this in your chest. The quiet truth that not all wandering is lostness. That to keep moving, even without certainty, is its own kind of faith. A thought traveling forever. As you float beside Voyager in your imagination, you no longer feel fear. Only awe. Because here is something built by hands. Now out of reach. And yet it carries our fingerprint. Our name. Our song. And in that, you are reminded. You too carry a signal. You too move forward. Sometimes quietly. Sometimes unseen. But always leaving traces of yourself in the dark. In your relationships. In your choices. In your silence. You are not as lost as you feel. You are simply navigating the void. Like Voyager. With starlight behind you. Silence before you. And purpose still glowing inside. Out where the cold is ancient and the dark is deep, a machine continues to whisper. It has no lungs, no breath. Yet once, it carried the breath of Earth. Its circuitry pulsed with the warmth of purpose. Its frame held the dreams of those who looked up and wondered what lies beyond the sky. And now, it moves in silence, farther than any voice has ever traveled. Still going, though it was never built to last this long. This is not the tale of a dying machine. It is the story of endurance. Of letting go. Of the slow unraveling of presence in a place that was never meant to be inhabited. Voyager, long past its mission's end, still carries the signature of human curiosity, etched into metal, encoded in data, humming in weak signals that barely touch the edge of what we can hear. But even endurance has a timeline. Power fades. The warmth of the plutonium inside its heart, once a small, persistent sun, begins to cool. Each year, Voyager grows quieter, not from neglect, but from nature. Decay is not a failure. It is the language of time. And time, in space, is not counted in days or weeks, but in particles lost, in drifting dust, in distances so vast that light becomes memory. One by one, the instruments shut down. Not with drama. Not with sparks or flames. But like stars winking out in a slow twilight. The plasma wave instrument may continue for a while. The cosmic ray detector holds on. But others, the imaging systems, the magnetometers, the spectrometers, have already said their goodbyes. They are now silent, like old songs no longer sung, but never truly forgotten. Voyager conserves energy the way a candle protects its last flame, by narrowing its glow, focusing its breath, until the very end. This is the science of goodbye. To say farewell in space is to honor entropy. To witness the gentle collapse of function not as defeat, but as design. Every component that stops working has done more than it was built to do. Every signal that fades into noise carries years of meaning. Every byte of data is a final heartbeat sent across the stars. And still, Voyager listens. Not to Earth, not always. But to the stars. To the hiss of cosmic dust, the soft press of magnetic waves, the occasional crackle of a charged particle dancing past its hull. It records what it can, even now. Even as its memory banks grow tired. Even as time carves deeper into its circuits. And Earth listens back, straining to catch the faintest signal. It takes nearly 22 hours for a message to reach Voyager now. Another 22 for its reply to return. A conversation stretched over the span of a day, and soon, a silence stretched over forever. One day, perhaps in this decade, perhaps the next, the signal will stop. There will be no warning, no last words. Just a final breath into the dark. But it will not be lonely. Voyager was never made for companionship. It was made for motion. For observation. For reaching, not for returning. And in that motion, in that patient drifting through the interstellar night, it has already fulfilled its purpose. The golden record still spins. Somewhere inside the quiet body is a phonograph, a golden disc pressed with songs of Earth, voices in dozens of languages, the sound of a kiss, of laughter, of wind through leaves. There are instructions for how to play it, etched in the language of science, of math, of light. A gift to the unknown. A message in a bottle adrift in a cosmic sea. We don't know if it will ever be found. We don't know if someone, or something, will ever understand it. But the act of sending it was enough. It said, we were here. We felt. We listened. We dreamed. The science of goodbye is not about endings. It is about transformation. Voyager will not crash. It will not explode. It will not disintegrate in fire or vanish into void. It will simply fade. The power cells will give their final warmth. The transmitters will grow still. And what will remain is motion, the quiet continuation of a journey with no destination. It will orbit the center of the galaxy for billions of years. Long after Earth has changed. Long after the languages on the record have been forgotten. Long after the sun itself has swelled and dimmed and died. Voyager will still be out there, not as a ghost, but as a whisper. A relic of wonder. A piece of humanity that dared to say, what's beyond the last light? There is grace in that. There is humility. We do not ask the void to reply. We do not need it to. We send because we can. We say goodbye because it's part of loving something. Even if that something is made of wires and steel and silicon. Even if that something can never say it back. Goodbye is not an end. It is a direction. A letting go that allows motion to continue. And Voyager, with all its silence, with all its fading, continues. Not in defiance of time, but in harmony with it. Not because we made it perfect, but because we made it with purpose. Its goodbye is a lesson. A reminder. That everything we build one day must let go. There is no dawn here. No orbit. No sun. No morning light to slice through shadow. Here, beyond the heliosphere, beyond the reach of our star's breath, the Voyager spacecraft drifts in the ultimate quiet. A vessel without anchor, a traveler without a road. It is now a ghost ship, but not a haunted one. Rather, it is serene, gliding through a place where time seems to stretch so thin, you can hear its silence. We call this region interstellar space. But the term does not quite prepare you for what it feels like to be here. This is not space in the usual sense, not the velvet blackness that hugs a planet or cloaks a moon. This is the in-between. The breathless pause between stars. And Voyager, a machine born in the 1970s, powered by atoms older than the Earth, is the first of our kind to enter it. Not propelled by thrusters now, but by momentum alone, like a paper boat gliding across an endless, invisible sea. What does it mean to drift where gravity barely whispers? To understand this drift is to understand distance in a new language. In this vastness, space is not empty, it is thin. Sparse hydrogen atoms float here, scattered like forgotten whispers. Cosmic dust drifts with no hurry, no heat. And light, even light, slows in meaning, taking years just to say hello. Out here, gravity is not absent. It is patient. No sudden pulls, no swift dances. Only the slow persuasion of mass across the ages. Voyager feels none of this. But its instruments record it all, every particle, every field, every flicker of radiation. It becomes a witness. A scribe in the cathedral of space. It drifts, and it listens. The directionless path. Without a star to orbit, there is no up or down. Without a destination, there is no wrong turn. Voyager has no map now. No plotted course. It is simply moving, forward. Or outward. Or away. All of these are relative. All of them are true. Its trajectory was set decades ago, long before it left the sun's care. But now, with no engines burning, with no planet in sight, its motion feels more like acceptance than propulsion. Imagine yourself on a canoe in a still lake the size of a galaxy. The last paddle stroke was made long ago. Now, you drift. Not lost, but surrendered. And in that surrender, something beautiful happens. You begin to see not where you're going, but where you are. Cosmic stillness is not emptiness. Though Voyager travels through space, it also travels through memory. Every signal it sends back is a time capsule, arriving at Earth hours later. Every byte of data, the density of particles, the angle of magnetic fields, is a piece of a puzzle too large for any one mind to hold. And even though the space is sparse, the silence is full. Full of ancient radiation. Full of the echoes of dead stars. Full of the gravity wells of suns you cannot see. This is not emptiness. It is simply a kind of slowness, a slower language, a slower logic. And Voyager speaks it fluently now. Not in words, but in presence. The heartbeat continues. Its instruments are aging. Its power is fading. But still, it sends back whispers. A pulse of radio here. A measurement of plasma there. Still working. Still reaching. Still teaching us how to listen. Imagine a candle at the end of a long hallway. You cannot touch it. You can barely see its glow. But you know it's there, and you know it's yours. That's what Voyager is now, a flicker of human curiosity that refuses to go out. A machine that carries our questions farther than we ever dared to dream. And perhaps that is the most human thing of all. To keep asking. Even when no one is answering back. Voyager as metaphor. We made Voyager to explore. But in doing so, we also made it to drift. We made it to leave us. And that's a hard truth for the heart. Because in Voyager's journey, we find echoes of our own. Aging. Wandering. Losing the maps we once trusted. Learning to make peace with directionless motion. There's no tragedy in the drift. Only stillness. Only the soft invitation to surrender control, and keep going anyway. Where it goes now. Voyager is now headed in the direction of the constellation Ophiuchus. Not toward any particular star, just in that general galactic neighborhood. It will pass near another star, in 40,000 years. And yet, it continues, undeterred by time frames we cannot fathom. Its journey is not one of arrival, but of witness. Out here, even movement is a kind of devotion. Even drifting is a kind of progress. And so it goes. You, the Voyager. As you lie here tonight, imagining this craft silently slipping through the interstellar dark, know this. There is no engine pushing it now. Only momentum. Only trust. Just like you. You, too, are moving through a kind of interstellar space, in your thoughts, in your life, in the parts of yourself that feel unmoored. You, too, may feel the drift, the space between one season and the next. And yet, you go on. Curious. Open. Patient. Not because you know the way. But because something in you refuses to stop wondering. Somewhere in the void, a whisper is still traveling. It left Voyager more than 20 hours ago. A faint ripple in the fabric of space. A single thread of light. Woven through a cosmos that does not hurry. It is not the kind of light you see with your eyes. Not starlight, not flame. This is radio light. Long and low and slow. Born not in stars but in circuits. Shaped not by nature, but by intention. And yet, it is light. Still bound by the same laws. Still moving at the same unfathomable speed. Just under 300,000 kilometers every second. Swift enough to circle Earth 7 times in a blink. Yet not fast enough to make the distance between Voyager and home feel anything but vast. What is a signal, really? A signal is a decision. It is light given purpose. It is the transformation of thought. From mind to machine to motion. Voyager's signals begin in silence. An instruction is given. A question is asked. Its instruments respond. A measurement of temperature. A count of cosmic particles. The tilt of its antenna. The curve of plasma flowing by. Each of these is turned into numbers. Numbers into patterns. Patterns into pulses. And those pulses ride radio waves. Low-frequency light. That slips across the stars like breath across glass. And Earth listens. The Deep Space Network. On Earth, 3 great ears turn toward the void. Massive radio antennas, in California, in Spain, in Australia. Rise from the soil like modern-day monoliths. Steel petals angled toward emptiness. Hungry for a single note in a symphony of noise. These dishes do not hear in the way you do. They do not catch sound. They catch time. A Voyager signal arrives not with volume, but with precision. A tiny variation in frequency. A change in timing. A difference in phase. It is like decoding the heartbeat of a ghost. These signals are faint. By the time they reach us, they are less powerful than the energy of a falling snowflake. And yet, we catch them. We parse them. We listen. Because light, no matter how weak, still speaks. Light that endures. What makes light so extraordinary is not its speed, but its patience. Once launched, a radio wave never stops. It doesn't slow. It doesn't fade on its own. It keeps going. Through gas and dust and time. Unless something interrupts it. Voyager's messages are like stones dropped into a still lake. But instead of ripples on water, they are ripples in space. Invisible, resilient, carrying knowledge across the stars. Each one is a thread. Connecting one moment in the past to a listener in the present. And in that connection, something remarkable happens. We share space with something impossibly far away. A 22-hour conversation. By now, it takes Voyager's signal over 22 hours to reach us. And another 22 hours for a response to return. A full day to ask. And answer. A slow, patient rhythm. The kind of conversation the universe understands. In the early days, signals took seconds. We could adjust the spacecraft's path. Respond quickly to events. But now, it is different. Now, every instruction is a message in a bottle. Hurled through cosmic tides. And every answer is a gift. Returned from the edge of knowing. Voyager is not reacting anymore. It is reporting. Like a lighthouse keeper sending daily logs. From a post no one else can reach. And still, it reports. The triumph of distance. There is something deeply human in sending a signal, knowing it may never return. Something bold. Something sacred. Voyager does not just measure. It reaches. Every pulse of data is a quiet defiance of darkness. Think of it. We built a machine that sends whispers of its condition across a chasm so wide that the sun itself is just a pale dot. And those whispers arrive not as noise, but as meaning. That is what light gives us. Not just vision, but voice. You are made of signals too. As you lie here, quiet and still, your body is carrying its own kind of light. Tiny electrical pulses move through your mind. Memories stored in the folds of neurons. emotions triggered by pattern, thoughts rising like waves from the deep. You, too, are a carrier of light. You, too, are shaped by distance and time. And like Voyager, you send signals. Every word you speak, every choice you make, every silence you keep, all of it. Messages. Moving outward. Shaping the people. The space. The world. Around you. What if no one hears? And still, the question lingers. What if no one hears Voyager's last message? What if, one day, it goes quiet? Not because it has nothing to say, but because there's no one left to listen. Is that a tragedy? Or simply, the way of things? Perhaps the miracle is not that Voyager may one day go unheard, but that we ever heard it at all. That it ever spoke. That across such distance, light was ever able to carry our longing, our questions, our presence into the dark. That is the real triumph. Not the signal, but the sending. A voice moving forever. Even after Voyager's systems shut down, its last signal will continue drifting. There will be no switch off. No final fade. Only a last word. Stretched into eternity. Still moving at light speed. Still rippling through the galaxy. And who knows? Perhaps, in some distant age. Long after Earth has changed. Long after stars have shifted in the sky. That final whisper will pass through another world. And be heard. But even if it isn't, it matters. Because light was sent. And in the sending, we were here. Last lines. And so you rest. Knowing that somewhere out there is a silence so vast, so complete, that it can only be broken by memory. Out here, beyond every planet, beyond the influence of any sun, Voyager is still whispering. Not loudly, not often, but faithfully, as if the act of remembering was the act of surviving. And what does it remember? It remembers you. Long ago, before it passed through rings of radiation. Before it skimmed the winds of dying stars. Before it sailed into the magnetic hush beyond the heliosphere. Voyager was given a voice. A golden one. A record made of copper and gold, etched with symbols and songs. With greetings in 55 human tongues. It carries the sound of a baby's first cry. The beat of a human heart. Laughter. Rain. A kiss. It carries the pulse of a species brave enough to imagine someone, or something, out there listening. Voyager was built to measure. To calculate. To transmit data. But what it carries, far more than voltage or code, is the essence of being human. It is not only an explorer. It is an ambassador. Not only a machine, but a time capsule. Not only a messenger, but a message. And the message is you. In the darkness between stars, Voyager sings in a language not native to stars or nebulae. But to minds that know longing and wonder. To minds that build telescopes and lullabies. To minds that look up at night and ache for meaning. Who are we? We are the ones who noticed the silence. And dared to answer it. There is poetry in persistence. And Voyager, drifting farther than any object made by human hands, is a poem written across 47 years of motion. It carries images of life on Earth. A mother nursing a child. A dancer in silhouette. The Taj Mahal. DNA. It carries Beethoven and blind Willie Johnson. Peruvian panpipes and Senegalese percussion. It carries a blind woman's song to the stars. It carries hope dressed in music. This is what it means to be human. To be so small, and yet to speak so far. Voyager teaches us that space is not just a place. It's a mirror. Every measurement is also a metaphor. Every discovery out there reveals something in here. When we chart gravity waves, we chart how we're pulled. When we study magnetism, we study how we're drawn. When we map cosmic rays, we map the traces of ancient fires. And we begin to recognize our own. Maybe you've always felt the pull. That soft, quiet ache for something beyond the everyday. Something transcendent. Something eternal. This chapter isn't about physics. It's about remembering. Not just remembering Voyager, but remembering what it says about us. That we are not only capable of launching dreams into the dark, but of embedding those dreams with music, with feeling, with memory. In this way, Voyager is less of a machine, and more of a memory vessel. Floating, listening, transmitting. Like an old letter still in the mail, waiting to be opened by a stranger, who will not know our language, but who might understand our longing. You may ask, what is the purpose of such a journey? The truth is, Voyager's purpose has changed. It is no longer just a collector of data. It is now a holder of meaning. Even if it's never found. Even if its golden record is never played. Even if its signals one day fall silent. It will have mattered. Because it carried a gesture. The same gesture made by a child releasing a paper boat into a stream. The same gesture made by lovers sending postcards across oceans. The same gesture made by ancestors painting stories on cave walls. It says, I was here. And I want it to be known. As you imagine Voyager now, cool and distant, some 15 billion miles from Earth, you may feel a strange closeness. A quiet connection. Because what it carries isn't just a scientific payload, but a fingerprint, an echo, a prayer. And it continues. On and on. With no destination. But no hesitation either. That is the final lesson of Voyager. To keep moving. Even when there is no map. To keep singing. Even when no one answers. To keep remembering. Even as the universe forgets your name. Because the message is not what you send. It's that you sent it. And that message is you. Somewhere in the farthest hush of the sky, Voyager slows. Not because it's tired, but because time, distance, and silence have stretched so long, they begin to blur. There is no more mission control. No countdown. Only the hum of background stars and the deep breath of space. And you, listening, feel it too. You've traveled far. Across solar winds and plasma songs, through the edge of light and into the ocean of dark. You've floated with invisible maps, surfed on cosmic rays, and drifted in silence beside the machine that forgot how to stop. Now, it is time to rest. There are no clocks here. No ticking seconds to remind you of Earth's spinning concerns. No morning. No night. Only the slow exhale of heat, of motion, of memory. Voyager doesn't sleep in the way humans do. It powers down, little by little. An antenna here. A sensor there. One last circuit dimming like an ember in the snow. But if you lean close enough, you might still hear a breath. A pulse of data. A heartbeat slowed by decades of silence, but never fully still. There is something sacred about this stillness. Not empty, but full of the things we forget to notice. The curve of gravity that bends the light. The soft hush between signals. The invisible thread that stretches from this drifting craft all the way back to you. In many ways, Voyager became more than a spacecraft. It became a dream. And dreams never die, they change shape. In your sleep, you drift next to it. No suit. No oxygen tank. Just thought, wrapped in wonder. You are not afraid. There is no edge to fall from, no cold to bite, no void to fear. Just stars. Endless stars. And the gentle knowledge that someone, somewhere, made something to endure. The golden record is still aboard. That shining disc etched with laughter, music, heartbeat, thunder, greetings in 55 languages. It floats now like a message in a bottle. Not looking to be found, but hoping someone will care enough to listen. You imagine some far-off intelligence, perhaps in another galaxy. One day finding this ancient relic. And hearing our music. Our baby's cry. Our whale song. And wondering, who were these creatures? So fragile, so short-lived. And yet so determined to speak across forever. The stars around you do not twinkle. There is no air here to bend their light. They simply shine, steady, old, patient. Some are so far away, their light left them before humans learned to write. And yet they watch you, as if they were waiting. Are you awake now? Or dreaming? Does it matter? You feel your breath slow, your thoughts stretch. You and Voyager. Two travelers who cannot return, now part of the same cosmic hush. You begin to forget your name. Not from fear, but from peace. The self that worried, planned, rushed, and explained has no role here. Only wonder remains. Only rest. There is one last signal. One last photon. It leaves Voyager's antenna like a whisper leaving lips. It travels for hours. Then days. Then years. Maybe it will be caught by a telescope. Maybe it won't. But it doesn't matter, the message has already been sent. It always was. We were here. We tried to understand. We reached. You feel yourself becoming smaller. Not in the way that frightens you, but in the way that makes you feel part of something vast, eternal, and kind. You are not falling asleep. You are being held. By the stars. By the dark. By every echo of every question humanity ever asked. Where are we? Are we alone? What is out there? You smile, though you didn't mean to. The corners of your mind soften. And you hear it. Not in words, but in silence. You were never really alone. Your breath aligns now with the pulse of Voyager. Not in tempo, but in intention. Both of you still moving. Still listening. Still dreaming. Even if the system shut down. Even if the light fades. Even if the signal dies. The story doesn't. Because the story is you. And so, you drift. Eyes closed. Heart open. Sleeping not away from the world, but deeper into it. The stars are no longer far. They are beside you. Inside you. Always were. Good night, Voyager. Good night, traveler. Good night, sky.